The rain was a relentless, icy curtain, mirroring the cold dread that had taken root in Y/N's soul. She stood in the dim, opulent hallway of a club she never knew existed, her simple dress clinging to her shivering frame. The air smelled of expensive cigars, faint perfume, and danger. Her step-uncle, a man she had never trusted, stood beside her, his grip on her arm uncomfortably tight. His smile was a slimy, nervous thing. "Remember, girl," he whispered harshly, "you do this and my debt is cleared. You be good to him. Don't embarrass me." Y/N, voice trembling, "How could you do this? Sell your own niece. This isn't the 18th century, step-uncle. You're not my blood and you're a burden I can no longer afford. Be grateful. He's a powerful man. You'll live in luxury." Luxury. The word felt like ash in her mouth. He was selling her as a mistress to a notorious mafia boss, a man named Jeon Jungkook. The name alone sent shivers down the spines of seasoned criminals. He was a ghost, a legend of the underworld, known for his ruthless efficiency and his terrifyingly calm demeanor. The heavy, dark wooden door at the end of the hall swung open silently. A tall, broad-shouldered man stood there, silhouetted against the warm, low light of the room behind him. He was dressed in an impeccably tailored black suit, his posture radiating an authority that needed no words. This was it, her new owner, her heart hammered against her ribs like a trapped bird. She kept her eyes downcast, focusing on the intricate pattern of the marble floor, too terrified to look up. The man stepped forward, his polished shoes coming into her line of sight. He stopped in front of her step-uncle. A deep, calm voice laced with an undercurrent of steel broke the silence. It was a voice that felt both terrifyingly new and hauntingly familiar. "JK, is this her, step-uncle?" Bowing profusely, "Yes, sir, Mr. Jeon. This is Y/N as we agreed. JK, the debt is cleared, get out." There was no room for argument. Her step-uncle released her arm so fast it was as if she'd burned him. With one last nervous glance, he scurried away, leaving her utterly alone with the monster. Y/N stood frozen, her breath caught in her throat. She could feel his gaze on her, heavy and assessing. She squeezed her eyes shut, praying for this to be a bad dream. Then, a long, elegant finger gently hooked under her chin. The touch was surprisingly soft, yet it sent a jolt of electricity through her. It forced her head up, her eyes, wide with fear, traveled up the black suit over a strong jaw, past lips set in a firm line, and finally met a pair of dark, intense eyes. And the world stop-time itself seemed to fracture. The opulent hallway, the danger, the rain, everything faded into a blurry background. Because the man staring back at her, the dangerous mafia boss she had been sold to, was Junkook, her Junkook, the boy who used to buy her strawberry milk after school, the boy who held her hand during scary movies, the boy who wrote her silly love notes and promised her the world, the boy who had shattered her heart into a million pieces 3 years ago when he disappeared without a trace, without a single word of explanation. The air rushed from her lungs in a choked gasp. Y/N. Jungkook, his expression was unreadable, a mask of cool indifference. But for a fleeting second, just a fraction of a moment, she saw a storm of surprise and something else, pain, flash in his deep, dark eyes. It was gone so fast she thought she'd imagined it. "JK, Y/N, he said her name. It wasn't a question. It was a statement, a confirmation. He knew. He had always known it was her. The shock began to curdle into a hot, bitter anger, cutting through her fear. Y/N. "It's you. All this time, this monster they're all afraid of, it's you." He didn't flinch. His gaze remained steady on hers. "JK, welcome home. Y/N. The way he said home felt like a mockery. This wasn't a home. This was a gilded cage, and her jailer was the ghost of her past. Y/N. Taking a shaky step back. Don't you dare say that. You left me. You vanished. I cried for you for months. I thought you were dead. And now I find you like this. You bought me." Her voice broke on the last word. The sheer absurdity and cruelty of the situation was overwhelming. Jungkook's jaw tightened. He looked at her, really looked at her, his eyes tracing the tears that now streamed freely down her face, mingling with the rain still dripping from her hair. JK. His voice softer but still firm. It's complicated. Y/N. Complicated, you're a criminal, and I'm your. She couldn't even say the word. He reached out again, this time to wipe a tear from her cheek with his thumb. His touch was warm, a stark contrast to the ice in her veins. She flinched away violently. Y/N. Don't touch me. For the first time, his composure seemed to crack. A shadow of frustration crossed his face. JK. You're cold and wet, and you're in shock. We'll talk later. For now, you need to rest. He turned and spoke to a man who had appeared silently beside them. He was handsome, with a kind face and broad shoulders. JK. Namjoon Hyung, please show Y/N to her rooms. The East Wing suite. Make sure she has everything she needs. Namjoon. Nodding, of course. Junkook, come with me. Y/NSSI. Y/N looked from Namjoon's calm, reassuring face back to Jungkook's impassive one. The boy she loved was gone, replaced by this enigmatic, powerful stranger. As Namjoon gently guided her away, she glanced back one last time. Junkook was still standing there, watching her go, his hands clenched into fists at his sides. And in that moment, she didn't see a mafia boss. She saw the boy who broke her heart, looking just as lost as she felt. A/N. Hello again, dear readers. Y/N is now in the lion's den, but the lion seems conflicted. Let's see how she settles into her new, unwanted home and what secrets this world and Junkook might hold. The East Wing suite was not a suite. It was an entire apartment, larger than any place Y/N had ever lived in. It was beautifully decorated in muted tones of cream and gray, with floor-to-ceiling windows that offered a stunning, terrifying view of the Seoul skyline. It was a prison, but it was the most beautiful prison imaginable. For 2 days, she saw no one except a quiet, elderly maid who brought her meals, exquisite gourmet food that she could barely stomach. She was a ghost in a palace of luxury. She paced the rooms, her mind a whirlwind of confusion, anger, and a treacherous, lingering hurt. He was here. Junkook was here. Why? Why did he leave? Why was he now the head of a criminal empire? And the most haunting question of all, did he plan this? Did he know it was her he was buying? On the third morning, as she picked at a plate of fresh fruit, the door to her suite opened without a knock. Her head snapped up, her body tensing. It was Junkook. He was dressed more casually today in dark trousers and a simple black sweater that stretched across his broad shoulders. He looked younger, more like the boy she remembered, but the intensity in his eyes was entirely new. JK. You haven't been eating. His voice was flat, observational. He walked in as if he owned the place, which she reminded herself bitterly. He did. Y/N. I'm not hungry, JK. You need to eat. He came to stand opposite her at the table. The silence between them was heavy, charged with 3 years of unsaid words. Y/N. Why am I here, Junkook? JK. You heard the deal. Your step-uncle owed a substantial debt. This was the payment. Y/N. And you just accept human payment. What kind of man are you? He didn't answer. Instead, he pulled out the chair beside her and sat down, his movements graceful and controlled. He picked a strawberry from her plate and studied it. JK. Do you remember? We used to share a box of these. You'd always steal the biggest one. The casual mention of their past felt like a physical blow. It was so intimate, so normal in this completely abnormal situation. Y/N. Eyes welling up with angry tears. Don't you dare talk about that. You don't get to reminisce. The boy who shared strawberries with me is dead. You killed him. He finally looked at her, and the raw pain in his eyes was so stark it made her breath hitch. The mask was slipping. JK. He's not dead. Y/N. He just had to become someone else. Y/N. Why? What happened? Just tell me. You owe me that much. He was silent for a long moment, his internal struggle visible on his face. JK. My father, he wasn't the businessman everyone thought he was. He was the previous head of this organization. He was killed, betrayed from within. I was next in line. If I hadn't stepped up, I would have been killed too. And he paused, his gaze piercing hers. Anyone close to me would have been a target. Anyone I loved. The implication hung in the air between them, thick and suffocating. Y/N. Me. You left to protect me. It was a noble, tragic reason. The kind you read about in books. But the reality of it, the 3 years of heartache, felt far from noble. Y/N. Voice shaking. You could have told me. You could have trusted me. Instead, you just broke my heart and left me to think I meant nothing to you. JK. Standing up abruptly, his voice rising. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. Do you think I wanted to? I watched you from a distance for months after I left. I saw you crying. I saw you waiting for me by our spot at the Han River. It tore me apart. He was breathing heavily now, the controlled facade completely gone. This was the real Junkook, raw and hurting. Y/N. So what? Now it's safe. Now you can just buy me from my worthless step-uncle and bring me into your world of danger. How does that make sense? JK. His voice dropped to a desperate whisper. I heard he was going to sell you to someone else. Someone truly vile. I couldn't let that happen. This, having you here where I can see you, where I know you're safe, it was the only way. His confession left her reeling. He did it to save her. But he had also brought her into the heart of his dangerous world. She was now a possession, a mistress, a living, breathing reminder of their shattered past. Just then another man sauntered into the room without ceremony. He was impossibly handsome, with cat-like eyes and a sharp jawline. Newcomer. Ya Junkook, the meeting is O. He stopped, his eyes landing on Y/N with open curiosity. So this is the famous Y/N. Junkook instantly schooled his features back into a neutral mask. JK. Y/N. This is Taehyung. He's a brother, Taehyung. Giving her a charming, boxy smile, a very handsome and capable brother. It's nice to finally meet you. He never shuts up about oof. Junkook had elbowed him sharply in the ribs. Taehyung just chuckled. Taehyung, feisty, I like her. Anyway, Jin Hyung is making lunch and threatening to throw all the kimchi out if you're late. You should come. Y/NSSI. It's better than hiding in this room. He winked at her and left as suddenly as he arrived. The encounter was so bizarrely normal that it left Y/N disoriented. These weren't just faceless thugs, they were a family. Junkook's family. Junkook sighed, running a hand through his hair. JK. Come to lunch. Y/N. Please, you need to eat. And you're not a prisoner here. You can leave this room. He turned and walked out, leaving her more confused than ever. He had left her to protect her. He had bought her to save her. The monster had a heart, and it was breaking her own all over again. A/N. Welcome back. The plot thickens as Y/N gets a glimpse into Junkook's new world and the family he's built. Old feelings are starting to resurface, tangled with new fears and uncertainties. Let's see what happens when the past and present collide over lunch. Hesitantly, Y/N left the sanctuary of her room and followed the sound of voices and the delicious aroma of food down the hall. She entered a large, sunlit dining room that felt more like a cozy family kitchen than part of a mafia boss's headquarters. The scene was surreal. A man so handsome he could be a movie star, Jin, she presumed, was ladling stew into bowls while complaining loudly about someone using his expensive pans. Taehyung was setting the table, arguing playfully with another man who had a sleepy, feline grace, Jimin. Namjoon was carefully arranging side dishes, and a man with fiery orange hair, Hoseok, was telling a joke that made everyone laugh. It was a picture of domestic bliss. It was everything she and Junkook had once dreamed of having. They all looked up as she entered. The chatter died down for a moment, replaced by warm, curious smiles. Jin. Ah, the mystery guest arrives. Come, sit. You're too thin. Junkook, you're not feeding her properly. Junkook, who was sitting at the head of the table, just shook his head slightly, a faint, almost imperceptible smile on his lips as he watched Jin fuss Jimin, pulling out the chair next to him. Sit here. Y/NSSI. Don't be scared, we don't bite. His voice was soft and melodic. She sat down, feeling incredibly self-conscious. They were all so welcoming. It disarmed her completely. Hoseok. So, Y/NSSI, Junkook says you knew each other in university. The question was innocent, but it sent a jolt through her. She glanced at Junkook. He was staring intently at his bowl, his knuckles white where he gripped his spoon /n. Yes, a long time ago, Taehyung. He was probably a shy, awkward mess back then, wasn't he? Not the big, scary boss he is now. A genuine, small smile touched her lips for the first time in days /n. He was sweet. The table went quiet. It was clear that sweet was not a word used to describe Junkook in his current life. Junkook finally looked up, his eyes meeting hers across the table. There was a softness in them she hadn't seen since his arrival. JK. I was. The simple admission, spoken in that deep voice, felt like a secret shared just between them. The air crackled with the memory of what they once were. Lunch proceeded with light-hearted banter. They included her in their conversations, teasing each other and telling stories. She learned that Jin was the mom of the group, Hoseok the mood maker, Namjoon the strategic brain, Jimin the compassionate heart, and Taehyung the quirky, loyal friend. They were a unit, a family bound by something deeper than blood or crime. She watched Junkook with them. He was relaxed, laughing at Jin's jokes, listening intently to Namjoon's ideas. This was his family. This was the man he had become. And despite everything, she could see the shadow of the boy she loved within this powerful leader. After lunch, as the others cleared up, Junkook approached her. JK. Come with me. There's something I want to show you. Curiosity overpowering her caution, she followed him. He led her not to some dark, ominous office, but to a secluded rooftop garden. It was a beautiful, peaceful oasis high above the city. In the center was a small, gurgling fountain, and next to it, a swing. A simple, wooden swing, her breath caught. It was an exact replica of the one in her parents' old garden, the one he had pushed her on for hours, the one where he had first told her he loved her /n. You remembered, JK. I remember everything /n. He stood behind her, close but not touching. The city hummed around them, a distant symphony. JK. I had this built the first week I took over, when the world felt too heavy and the person I had to be felt like a suit that didn't fit. I'd come up here. I'd sit on this swing and remember what it felt like to be the boy who was loved by you. Tears streamed down her face freely now. They weren't tears of anger or fear, but of a profound, aching sadness for what they had lost /n. That boy is still in there, Junkook. I saw him today with your friends. He stepped closer. She could feel the warmth of his body. JK. He's always in there, especially when I'm with you. She turned to face him. The setting sun cast a golden glow on his face, highlighting the vulnerability in his eyes. He slowly raised a hand and cupped her cheek, his thumb gently wiping her tears away. This time she didn't flinch /n. I was so lost without you, JK. I'm so sorry, my love. I'm so sorry for the pain I caused you. The old endearment slipped out so naturally. It shattered the last of her defenses. He leaned in slowly, giving her every chance to pull away. But she didn't. She closed her eyes as his lips met hers. It wasn't a kiss of passion or possession. It was a kiss of homecoming. A kiss of 1,000 apologies and 1,000 promises. It tasted of salt from their tears and the sweet, lingering echo of strawberries. For that one perfect moment, the past 3 years melted away, and they were just Junkook and /n again, desperately in love. But as they pulled apart, the real world came crashing back. A man she didn't recognize rushed onto the rooftop, his face grim. Man, boss, we have a problem. The Lee family, they've heard about the girl. They're questioning your judgment. Jungkook's face transformed in an instant. The softness vanished, replaced by a cold, hard authority. The Mafia boss was back. JK. I'll be right there. He looked back at /n, his eyes filled with a new kind of fear, not for himself, but for her. JK. Go back to your room. Stay there. Don't open the door for anyone but me or Namjoon. Do you understand? She nodded, her heart pounding with a fresh wave of terror. Their beautiful moment was over. The danger of his world had just reached out and touched them. A stark reminder that their love story was written in the shadows. /n. Hello, my dear readers. That kiss was everything, wasn't it? But as we just saw, love in this world is never simple. The shadows are closing in, and Jungkook's past actions are about to have very real consequences for their present. Hold on tight, this is where things get thrilling. The peace Y/N had felt on the rooftop evaporated, replaced by annoying anxiety. For the next 2 days, Junkook was distant and preoccupied. She barely saw him, and when she did, he was surrounded by his men, his face a grim mask of concentration. The warm, familial atmosphere in the house had shifted into one of high alert. Namjoon had taken it upon himself to explain the situation to her. His tone always calm and patient, a stark contrast to the tension humming in the air. Namjoon. The Lee family is a rival group. They see Jungkook's rise as an insult. They've been looking for a weakness and now they think they've found one. Y/N, me, Namjoon, nodding, you. Bringing someone from his past, it's seen as a sentimental move. In our world, sentimentality is often mistaken for weakness. Y/N, so I'm a liability, Namjoon. To them, yes. To him, he gave her a small, knowing smile. You are everything he's been fighting to protect for 3 years. His words should have been comforting, but they only made her feel more trapped. Her presence was causing him trouble, putting him and his family in danger. The guilt was a heavy weight in her stomach. On the 3rd night, she was reading in her room when the door opened. It was Junkook. He looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes, but the intensity in his gaze was undimmed. JK. Pack a bag, just the essentials. We're leaving for a few days. Y/N. What? Why? Where are we going? JK. Somewhere safe. The Lees are getting bold. They made a move on one of our warehouses tonight. It's not safe for you here anymore. He was moving around her room, checking the windows, his body coiled with a restless energy. Y/N. Junkook, maybe I should just go. If I leave, they'll have no reason to target you. He stopped dead in his tracks and turned to her, his eyes blazing. JK. No. The word was a command, final and absolute. JK. That is not an option. You are not leaving my side, ever again. Y/N. But I'm putting you all in danger. He crossed the room in 3 long strides and grabbed her shoulders, his grip firm but not painful. JK. Listen to me. You are not the cause of this danger. I am, my world is. And I will burn down anyone and anything that tries to take you from me again. Do you understand? I lost you once. I will not survive losing you a second time. The raw, desperate love in his voice stole her breath. All her arguments died in her throat. He was willing to wage a war for her. He pulled her into a fierce, crushing hug, burying his face in her hair. JK. Muffled, just trust me. Y/N, please. In that moment she did. Completely, they left the compound in a convoy of black subs. Junkook sat beside her in the backseat, his hand holding hers tightly, his eyes constantly scanning the dark streets. Namjoon was in the passenger seat, and Taehyung was driving another car ahead of them. They drove for hours, eventually leaving the bright lights of Seoul behind and heading into the mountainous countryside. They finally stopped at a secluded, traditional hanok house, hidden deep within a forest. It was serene and beautiful, a world away from the urban danger they had left behind. JK. This is one of our safe houses. No one knows about it except the 7 of us. He led her inside. The house was sparsely furnished but clean and warm. A fire was crackling in the hearth, courtesy of someone who had arrived before them. For the first time since the rooftop, they were truly alone. The adrenaline of the escape began to fade, leaving behind a strange, intimate calm. They sat on the floor by the fire, a blanket draped over their shoulders, sipping the tea Junkook had made. Y/N. This feels normal, JK. A small smile. I've forgotten what normal feels like. Y/N. Tell me about it. Your life, the real parts, not just the danger. And so he did. He talked about the pressure of leadership, the weight of every decision, the constant vigilance. He spoke of his father, a man he had both loved and feared, and the betrayal that had forced him into this life. He shared his fears and his hopes for the future, things he could never tell anyone else. She listened, her heart aching for him. The boy who wanted to be an artist was now a king of the underworld. He had carried this burden alone for so long. Y/N. You don't have to be alone anymore, Junkook. He looked at her, the firelight dancing in his dark eyes. He leaned in and kissed her again. This kiss was different from the first. It was slower, deeper, filled with all the longing and passion of 3 lost years. It was a kiss of reclaiming, of promises for a future they were determined to have later. As they lay together in the quiet of the night, wrapped in each other's arms, she finally felt a sense of peace. The outside world and its dangers felt far away. Here, in this hidden house, they were just 2 souls who had found their way back to each other. Y/N. I love you, Junkook. I never stopped. He held her tighter, his lips against her forehead. JK. I love you, Y/N more than life itself. But as they drifted to sleep, neither of them saw the shadowy figure observing the house from the tree line. A single red laser dot briefly flickering across the window pane before disappearing back into the darkness. The threat hadn't been left behind in Seoul. It had followed them. A/N. Dear readers, our couple found a moment of peace, but as we saw, the calm never lasts long in this story. The danger has followed them, and it's time for Junkook to prove just how far he's willing to go for the woman he loves. Get ready for some action and a lot of heart. The attack came at dawn. Y/and was jolted awake by the sound of shattering glass and a muffled shout. Before she could even process what was happening, Junkook was already moving, a gun seeming to materialize in his hand from nowhere. JK. Get down. Stay on the floor. His voice was a low, urgent command. He pushed her off the bed and onto the floor, covering her body with his own just as another window exploded. And the thud of silenced gunfire peppered the wall where their heads had been moments before. Her heart was a frantic drum in her ears, terror freezing the scream in her throat. This was real. This was happening. She could hear shouts from outside, the roar of engines, and the distinct, sickening sound of fists hitting flesh. JK. Into a comms device on his wrist. T. Hyung. Positions? Taehyung's voice crackled back, tight with adrenaline. 3 at the east perimeter, taken care of, more coming from the south. They've found us. Jungkook's face was a stone-cold mask of fury and focus. He looked down at her, and for a split second, his eyes softened with a profound fear for her. JK. I need you to be brave. I need you to do exactly as I say. Can you do that? She nodded, her eyes wide with terror but filled with trust. He quickly helped her put on a black bulletproof vest over her night clothes. It was heavy and smelled of him. JK. We're moving to the panic room. It's underground. When I say run, you run. Don't look back. Don't stop for anything. He peered over the windowsill, his gun raised. JK. Now, he grabbed her hand and pulled her up, sprinting out of the bedroom and down a narrow hallway. She heard a bullet whiz past her ear, embedding itself in the wall beside her. Junkook didn't even break stride. He twisted and fired 2 shots behind them without looking. A pained grunt echoed in the hallway. They burst into a small, windowless storage room. Junkook kicked aside a rug to reveal a hidden trapdoor. He yanked it open. JK. Go. Down the ladder. Now. She scrambled down the cold, metal ladder into a dark, concrete-lined room. He followed, pulling the trapdoor shut above them and engaging several heavy-duty locks. The sounds of the fight became muffled, then distant. The panic room was small, lit by a single, dim emergency light. It was stocked with supplies, water, and a bank of monitors showing security camera feeds from around the property. On the screens, she saw the chaos. Jimin and Hoseok were fighting back-to-back, a fluid, deadly dance against a group of attackers. Jin was using a hunting rifle with surprising accuracy from an upstairs window. Namjoon was coordinating, his voice calm but firm over the comms. And Taehyung was a force of nature, his face set in a grimace as he disarmed one man and knocked another out cold with a single, powerful kick. These weren't just her boyfriend's friends. They were warriors, but her eyes were drawn to one screen in particular. It showed the main living area. Junkook was there, having evidently left the panic room to rejoin the fight. He moved with a lethal grace she had never seen, every movement efficient and devastating. He was no longer the boy from the rooftop or the man by the fire. He was the Jeon Jungkook of legend, the dragon of the underworld. She watched him corner a man, disarming him with a brutal twist of his arm. JK. His voice cold and sharp on the audio feed. "Who sent you?" the man spat at him. Jungkook's expression didn't change. He applied pressure and the man screamed, "JK, the Lee family is getting desperate, sending boys to do a man's job. Tell your boss this." He leaned in close, his voice dropping to a deadly whisper. "If he ever comes near what's mine again, I will personally tear down his empire, brick by brick, and feed him the rubble. Now get out of my sight." He released the man, who scrambled away in terror. The fight was over almost as quickly as it began. The remaining attackers, seeing their comrades defeated and their leader's message delivered, retreated into the forest. The compound was secure. Junkook stood amidst the wreckage of the living room, his chest heaving, a cut bleeding on his brow. He looked up directly into the security camera, as if he knew she was watching. "JK, it's over. And you're safe." A sob of relief escaped her lips. The door to the panic room unlocked and opened. He climbed down, his body radiating tension and the aftermath of violence. He saw her sitting on the floor, shivering despite the vest. All the fierceness drained from his face, replaced by a wave of overwhelming relief and tenderness. He dropped to his knees in front of her and pulled her into his arms, holding her as if she were made of glass. "JK, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry you had to see that." She clung to him, her hands fisting in his torn and bloodied shirt. She wasn't afraid of him. She was in awe of him. He had become this fearsome man to survive, to protect the people he loved. And he had just fought a small army to keep her safe. "You're hurt." She reached up and gently touched the cut on his forehead. He caught her hand and pressed a kiss to her palm. "JK, it's nothing. Seeing you safe is the only medicine I need." He helped her up and out of the panic room. The others were already cleaning up, their expressions grim but satisfied. Jimin came over, a bruise blooming on his cheek. He smiled at Y/N. "Jimin, you okay? You were very brave." Hoseok slung an arm around Jimin's shoulder. "Hoseok, our Junkook was like a hero in a movie, wasn't he? So cool." Junkook rolled his eyes, but a faint blush tinged his cheeks. The dynamic was returning to normal, the family regrouping. In that moment, surrounded by the evidence of the battle and the unwavering loyalty of his brothers, Y/N made a decision. This was his world. It was dangerous and dark, but he was her light in it, and she wasn't going to run from it anymore. She was going to stand by his side. She looked at Junkook, her heart full of a love that was no longer just a memory of the past, but a fierce, living force for the future. Y/N, I'm not going anywhere, Junkook. This is my world now, too. He looked at her, his eyes shining with a love so deep it felt like coming home. He knew she wasn't just talking about the physical place. She was accepting all of him, the boy, the boss, and the beast he sometimes had to be. A/N. My wonderful readers, we've reached the final part of our journey. The danger has passed for now, and our couple has weathered the storm. It's time for healing, for promises, and for a love that has been forged in fire to finally have its chance to shine. Get your tissues ready for a happy, romantic ending. A week later, they were back at the main compound in Seoul. The damage from the attack had been repaired, but the memory lingered, a stark reminder of the delicate balance of their lives. The Lee family, however, had gone radio silent. Jungkook's display of strength and the message he sent had worked. They were licking their wounds, and peace, however temporary, had been restored. Something had shifted fundamentally between Y/N and Junkook. The last barriers had fallen. There were no more secrets, no more pretense. She had seen the darkest part of his world and had chosen to stay. He, in turn, had let down his final guard, allowing her to see the man behind the myth in all his vulnerable, loving, and fearsome glory. He was sitting at his desk in his study, going over reports when she entered. He looked up and immediately his entire face softened. That was a look he reserved only for her. "JK. Hey, you, Y/N. Hey, busy, JK. Never too busy for you." He held out his hand and she went to him, letting him pull her onto his lap. She nestled her head against his shoulder, breathing in his familiar, comforting scent. Y/N. "What are you working on, JK?" Boring stuff, logistics, legitimate business, I promise. He added the last part with a smile. She smiled back. He was trying for her. He was slowly moving more of their operations into legal enterprises, building a future that wasn't shrouded in shadows. Y/N. I was thinking, I don't want to just sit around all day. I want to do something. Maybe I could help Namjoon with the books, or Jin in the kitchen. I need a purpose, Junkook, beyond just being yours. He kissed her temple. JK. You are never just anything. Y/N. You are everything. But I understand. He thought for a moment. Namjoon would love the help, and I think Jin would adopt you as his official sous chef if you asked. She laughed, the sound light and happy. This was what she wanted, a life. A real life with him, integrated into his world with his family as her own. That evening, Junkook took her out. Not to a clandestine meeting or a safe house, but on a real, proper date. They went to a quiet, upscale restaurant high in a skyscraper, with breathtaking views of the city lights. He held her hand across the table, his thumb drawing slow circles on her skin. He was dressed in a sharp, dark suit, but he looked more relaxed than she had ever seen him in public. JK. Do you remember that cheap noodle place we used to go to? The one with the wobbly tables? Y/N. Grinning, of course. You once tried to impress me by eating the spiciest ramen on the menu and then drank 2 liters of milk. JK. Groaning. Don't remind me. My stomach still hurts thinking about it. They talked and laughed, weaving the threads of their past into the fabric of their present. It felt easy. It felt right. After dinner, they walked along the Han River just like they used to. The night air was cool and the city lights reflected on the dark water. It was a perfect mirror of their past, but now everything was different. They were older, wiser, scarred by life, but infinitely stronger together. He stopped walking and turned to face her, taking both of her hands in his. The city lights twinkled in his deep, earnest eyes. JK. Y/N. These past few months, getting you back. It's been the only thing that has made sense in 3 long, lonely years. I thought I was protecting you by leaving, but all I did was create a void in both our lives that nothing else could fill. He got down on one knee right there. On the path by the river, her heart leaped into her throat, her eyes filling with instant tears. He pulled out a small, black velvet box. He opened it. Inside wasn't a massive, gaudy diamond, but a beautiful, elegant ring with a central diamond surrounded by smaller sapphires that sparkled like the night sky. JK, this was my mother's. She told me to give it to the woman who owned my heart. His voice was thick with emotion. Y/N. You have owned my heart since the day I met you. You are my past, my present, and my only future. Will you marry me? Not as a mistress, not as a possession, but as my partner, my wife, my everything. Tears streamed down her face, happy, joyful tears that washed away the last remnants of their painful past. This was the promise the boy had made, now being fulfilled by the man. Y/N. Voice choked with emotion. Yes, yes, Junkook. 1,000 times yes. He slid the ring onto her finger, a perfect fit, and stood up, sweeping her into his arms and spinning her around. His laughter, pure and unburdened, mingled with her happy sobs. When he set her down, he kissed her, a kiss that was a seal on their promise, a testament to their journey, and a beautiful beginning to their new life. As they stood wrapped in each other's arms, watching the city lights, Y/N knew their story wasn't a fairy tale. It was messy, painful, and fraught with danger. But their love was the strongest thing she had ever known. It had survived betrayal, distance, and bullets. It was a love written in the stars and forged in fire. And as Junkook held her close, whispering, "I love you," against her hair, she knew, without a doubt, that their happily ever after was just beginning. A/N. And that, my dear readers, is the end of our story. I hope you loved every moment of Junkook and Y/N's turbulent, passionate, and ultimately triumphant journey. They fought for their love and won their happy ending. Thank you for reading.